Hi everyone. Lots of people ask us how an Australian and a Northern Irishman got to start a stem cell clinic in Norway, and it's a great question. So we have to give you a little bit of background so you can fully understand. So I've been a chiropractor for 10 years and David been a doctor for the better part of 10. And the problem is that while we were helping some patients, there was an enormous amount of patients that, to be brutally honest, that just tissues were of such poor quality or the injuries were too big for us to fix in more conservative ways. So for David, he was left just giving people pain relief, as in painkillers, and me as a chiropractor, I was left having people that maybe get 50% better, but were having to come back for constant treatment, maybe once every week or multiple times a week, just to maintain some type of improvement. And then came our baseline patient, came our original patient. And the funny thing was that was the same patient for both David and I.
Yeah.
So
we didn't know that at the time. Actually, we had met and we'd been professionally in contact, but we hadn't actually met so much privately at that point. And you had been talking to the patient actually in advance.
Yeah.
So Jeremy was touching the patient. I knew the patient as well from my clinic, and we had both had the same problem. A young man, chronic knee pain due to arthritis, which was not bad enough for the surgeons to really do any intervention at all.
No.
They sent us a fairly sharply worded letter back and said, don't send this patient to us again, we can't help him. He's too young and he's not going to get a joint prosthesis.
No.
Give him painkillers.
And even more concerning with this patient was not just a patient, he was a friend. He was actually my fishing buddy. And the real wall was hit when we were out fishing one day and his knee pain was so bad, and he also has some other issues, but his knee pain was so bad that he was hobbling around like he was 90 years old. And not only that, he's a young, active man, was active in his prime, and he could barely bend over to pick up a fishing rod. And he came to me, not only his friend, but also his chiropractor and his healthcare professional, for help. And the only thing that I could provide him was just to say, well, we can maybe give you a cortisone injection. And he himself was the patient that said back, no, but that's not going to fix anything. And he was bang on.
So around that time then we were actually dealing with the should a patient receive sick leave question, and we're dealing then with some of these other less enjoyable parts of the treatment plan, where we're basically trying to warm the patient up to the idea that we're not going to do any more help. And at that point, that leaves us as professionals feeling really like we've failed, and we don't like that. Don't like that feeling. We feel like, okay, the specialists aren't helping. I'm not helping. Painkillers, they have a whole list of side effects. They can be addictive. This isn't a solution for this patient, really, and over the long term. And so we were left with basically throwing our hands up in the air saying, we can't do any more for you. But at that point then, I believe you were already looking into other alternatives.
And so this was the thing. It was a real wake-up call, because everything that I've been practicing for the last 10 years, everything that I was used to referring to, wasn't working. And while before I could just send it off to the orthopedic surgeon or send him back to his doctor and that was the end of it, you can't do that with your friends. You can't do that with your friends and family. So I was sort of like thinking, well, if no one else is going to find a solution, I'm going to have to. And so I just started reading everything I could about what's been doing, what treatments are available in the world to try and help these patients. And I came across stem cell, regenerative medicine. And as far out as it seemed, it actually seemed like a real viable option. And like Dave and I both in university, we learned that regenerating tissue just wasn't possible. So when I started reading that there were clinics out there were specialists out there that were transplanting stem cells into patients' knees and into their spines and into their shoulders, and this was helping them regenerate tissue and have less pain, more movement, and live better lives. It sounded too good to be true. And so I and David both individually tried to find places which we could refer this patient to.
So independent of Jeremy, we have still not met at this point. We had still just been corresponding professionally by letter, almost like by horse and cart. And so we had been independently researching this, and I also was researching. I had heard about some athletes in America who'd received this treatment, so I thought this was interesting. I should look it up. Started to read on it as well, and again found the same research, very promising stem cell treatments to give people new growth. So just by chance, we happened to bump into each other at the theatre. we had the kids there for something one day, and they were both there, his family and my family, and we just happened to bump into each other. It's like, oh, Jeremy, how's it going? We had a chat, and so that actually came up in conversation. We're both talking about this idea for stem cells. I think we pretty quickly realised that two heads are better than one, and so we thought, well, the plan then could be that we could pull ourselves together, we could pool our resources, maybe try and make something work. And so with Jeremy's diagnostic expertise, with his biomechanical expertise, really that gave us a great platform for finding the right patient. And then really, on the other hand, as a doctor with my ability then and my training in small surgeries and minor surgeries, that gives me the perfect platform from which to do the procedures.
So before I was really restricted to basically the most simple of regenerative procedures, using blood and the healing properties of PRP and PRF to do this. And I was really restricted to actually how I could harvest more powerful stem cells and harvest them in a way that was safe and effective. Where having David in just suddenly opened up an enormous possibility for us to access and harvest stem cells that could be really used to powerfully help regenerate tissues. And so we actually got the best of both worlds, not only biomechanical, which is sort of my specialization, but also the more interventional medicine, which David got. And then we're able to really combine our expertise to then what seemed like an impossible task of becoming the most advanced and effective musculoskeletal stem cell clinic in Europe became reality, and we've been able to accomplish that. And this is the thing, that we were able to do this together, but the problem has now hit us that we're able to help the people in our community, but exactly like we were trying to find with our patient and our friend, where he could otherwise go to get this treatment, and there were none. We were very restricted. And so now we're left with the moral obligation to share this, because us as healthcare professionals, no matter what you say, your doctor, your physiotherapist, your chiropractor, your surgeon, everyone is just trying to find out ways and solutions to help their patients.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have an ethical responsibility to get that information in front of the people that can be used. And that's exactly why we're doing this video. And while we're trying to get our message out to all of you guys that have joint and back pain, that you don't have to continue having this.
Yeah.
No matter what you've been told in the past, if you've just been told that, no, unfortunately, the only option for you is to wait until you can get a prosthesis, or in the case of spines and shoulders, you can't. There's not like you can transplant a new shoulder or transplant in a new spinal disc. These have been done, and they've been proven to be not very effective at all. And now
we're getting to the stage now where we're saying that it is, like Jeremy says, we feel like we have an ethical obligation to inform you that you no longer have to look forward to a life of painkillers that can either cause really some pretty serious side effects and addictions, or no hope. Finally, there is hope for patients with chronic joint pain, chronic back pain, chronic issues with degeneration, wear and tear over time. We have a solution, and all you have to do to find out is get in touch with us, and we'll give you an appointment and tell you what we can do for you.
Bye.